I found love letters in my husband's closet after 10 years of marriage. Then I discovered his secret child. A year later, I gave him the shock of his life. I'm Grace, 32F, and I've been married to Daniel, 33M, for 10 years. We were high school sweethearts who grew up together in a small town in Ohio. Our love story was something straight out of a romantic movie. We met in sophomore year when Daniel transferred to my school. He was the shy new kid, and I was the outgoing cheerleader who took him under my wing. We became best friends first, and then love blossomed naturally. After graduation, we both went to the same college. Those were some of the best years of our lives. We studied together, partied together, and grew even closer. Daniel proposed on our graduation day, and of course, I said yes. We got married a year later in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by our families and friends. For the past decade, we've built what I thought was a perfect life together. We have a cozy 3-bedroom house in the suburbs, 2 adorable children, Emma, 7F, and Liam, 5M, and successful careers. Daniel works as an architect at a prestigious firm, while I run my own small bakery. We seem to have it all: love, family, careers, and a strong partnership. Our life wasn't without its challenges, of course. We struggled financially in the early years of our marriage, and balancing work and family life wasn't always easy. But we always faced everything as a team. At least, that's what I thought. Last week, I was cleaning out Daniel's closet. Spring cleaning, you know? I was going through his old boxes, sorting out things to donate, when I stumbled upon a strange-looking envelope tucked away in the corner. It was pink and scented, definitely not something Daniel would use for work. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. Inside, I found a stack of love letters. My heart started racing as I read the first one. They were addressed to Daniel from a woman named Sarah. The letters were recent, the latest one dated just a month ago. They were full of passionate declarations of love, inside jokes, and plans for secret meetings. I felt like the ground had disappeared from under my feet. This couldn't be real. Not my Daniel. Not our perfect marriage. But the evidence was right there in my hands, in black and white. With shaking hands, I took the letters and went downstairs to confront Daniel. He was in the living room, playing with our kids. The sight of him being such a loving father while hiding such a massive secret made me feel sick. I asked the kids to go play in their room and then turned to Daniel. I held up the letters and asked, "Who is Sarah?" The color drained from his face. He stuttered, trying to deny it at first, claiming they were old letters from before we met. But I knew better. I had read them. I knew the dates. Under my relentless questioning, he finally broke down and admitted to having an affair with Sarah, 29F, a colleague from work. It had been going on for 6 months. 6 months of lies, of sneaking around behind my back, of betraying our vows and our family. I felt a wave of anger and disbelief wash over me. How could he do this to us? To our children? To the life we had built together? I couldn't stop the tears from flowing as I demanded answers. Daniel tried to explain, saying he never meant for it to happen. He claimed it started innocently, late nights at work, grabbing dinner together, confiding in each other about work stress. But one thing led to another, and before he knew it, they were in too deep. I couldn't bear to hear his excuses. Each word felt like a knife twisting in my heart. I asked him to leave the house for the night. I needed space to think, to process this betrayal. As I write this, I'm sitting in our bedroom, the room we've shared for 10 years, the room where we've laughed, loved, and dreamed together. Now it feels tainted, like everything else in our life. I don't know what to do. How do I move forward from this? How do I explain this to our children? Can I ever trust Daniel again? The man I thought I knew better than anyone else in the world has turned out to be a stranger. I feel lost, betrayed, and utterly heartbroken. Any advice would be appreciated. How do I navigate this nightmare? Update 1. It's been a week since I discovered Daniel's affair, and I'm still struggling to process everything. The past 7 days have been a blur of tears, anger, and confusion. I've been going through the motions for the sake of our children, but inside, I feel hollow. Daniel has been staying at his brother's place. He calls every day, begging for a chance to explain, to make things right. But I'm not ready to face him yet. The sound of his voice brings back the pain of betrayal, fresh and raw. I barely slept or eaten. Every time I close my eyes, I see those letters, Sarah's words of love to my husband. I keep replaying every moment of the past 6 months in my head, wondering how I could have been so blind. Were there signs I missed? Was I too caught up in my own life to notice my marriage falling apart? The hardest part has been maintaining a sense of normalcy for Emma and Liam. They know something is wrong, they're perceptive kids. I've told them that Daddy is away for work, but I know this explanation won't hold for long. The thought of shattering their world breaks my heart all over again. I've confided in my sister, Lisa, 35F, and she's been my rock through this ordeal. She's been helping with the kids in the bakery, giving me some time to think. But even with her support, I feel a deep sense of shame and embarrassment. I can't help but feel like I've failed as a wife, like there must be something wrong with me for Daniel to seek comfort in another woman's arms. Yesterday, I finally gathered the courage to go through Daniel's things more thoroughly. I was looking for more evidence, I suppose, trying to piece together the extent of his betrayal. What I found shook me to my core. Hidden in the back of his desk drawer, I found a photo of a young boy, maybe 12 or 13 years old. He looked strikingly like Daniel. On the back of the photo was written Jake, 13th birthday. With trembling hands, I called Daniel's brother, John, 36M. After some prodding, John confirmed my suspicions. Daniel has a son from a previous relationship, a boy named Jake who's now 14. Apparently, Daniel had a girlfriend in college before we got together. She got pregnant, but they broke up before the baby was born. Daniel has been secretly supporting the child financially all these years but has never been a part of his life. This revelation has deepened my sense of betrayal. Not only has Daniel been unfaithful, but he's been hiding a whole other life from me. A child. How could he keep something so significant from me for all these years? How many more secrets is he hiding? Despite Daniel's promises to end the affair, I decided to do some digging. I reached out to a mutual friend who works at Daniel's firm. She hesitated at first but finally admitted that she had seen Daniel and Sarah together just yesterday, having an intimate lunch. This was the final straw for me. Not only has Daniel betrayed me, lied to me about his past, but he's continuing to see Sarah even after promising to end it. The audacity of his deceit is staggering. I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of lies. The man I thought I knew, the man I've loved for half my life, is a stranger to me now. How can I ever trust him again? How can I look at him without seeing all the ways he's betrayed our family? I know I need to make some decisions soon. For my sake, for our children's sake. But right now, I'm paralyzed by pain and indecision. The life I thought I had has crumbled around me, and I don't know how to begin picking up the pieces. Update 2. It's been a month since my world turned upside down. The initial shock has worn off, replaced by a dull, constant ache in my chest. I've been existing in a sort of limbo, trying to figure out what comes next. Daniel has been relentless in his attempts to reconcile. He shows up at the house every day, bringing flowers, cards, even our old photos from high school. He's begging for forgiveness, promising to end things with Sarah for good this time, swearing he'll be a better husband and father. Part of me wants to believe him. The part that remembers the shy boy I fell in love with, the man who held my hand through 2 difficult pregnancies, the father who stayed up all night when Emma had the flu. But then I remember the lies, the secret son, the continued affair even after I confronted him, and I feel sick all over again. I finally agreed to meet with Daniel last week to discuss our situation. We met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe in town. Seeing him walk in, looking haggard and sleep-deprived, stirred up a whirlwind of emotions in me: love, anger, pity, disgust. Daniel poured his heart out. He talked about feeling trapped by responsibilities, about how Sarah made him feel young and carefree again. He admitted to the affair, to his secret son, to all the lies. He said he realized what a fool he'd been, that he'd do anything to save our marriage. I listened silently, letting him talk. When he finished, I asked the question that had been burning in my mind: why should I believe you now, when you've lied so easily for so long? He didn't have a good answer. Just more promises, more pleas for another chance. I told him I needed more time. That I couldn't just forget everything that had happened. That trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. He left, shoulders slumped, but promised he'd wait for as long as it takes. The children are starting to ask more questions. Emma overheard me crying on the phone to Lisa and asked if Daddy had done something bad. I didn't know how to answer her. How do you explain adultery to a 7-year-old? I've thrown myself into work at the bakery, trying to keep busy. But even there, I can't escape the pitying looks from customers who've heard the gossip. Our small town isn't good at keeping secrets, and Daniel's affair is now common knowledge. My friends have been supportive, but I can see the judgment in some of their eyes. The unspoken question: how could I not have known? Sometimes I find myself wondering the same thing. I've started keeping a journal, trying to sort out my feelings. Some days, I'm filled with rage, wanting to burn every memory of our life together. Other days, I'm overwhelmed by sadness, mourning the loss of the future I thought we had. The hardest part is the loneliness. Even with the kids and my sister around, I feel isolated. The person I used to turn to for comfort is the very one who caused this pain. I know I need to make a decision soon. We can't keep living in this limbo. But how do I choose? Do I try to salvage our marriage for the sake of our children? Or do I walk away from the only man I've ever loved, the father of my children? Every time I think I've made up my mind, I second-guess myself. The wound is still too fresh, the betrayal too deep. I don't know if I can ever fully trust Daniel again, but the thought of ending our marriage is equally terrifying. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time. Focusing on my children, my work, trying to rediscover who I am outside of being Daniel's wife. It's a long, painful process, but I'm slowly finding my footing again. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I need to be strong for myself, and for Emma and Liam. Whatever decision I make, it needs to be one I can live with, one that allows me to look my children in the eye and know I did what was best for all of us. Update 3. 6 months have passed since that fateful day when I found Sarah's letters. It feels like a lifetime ago. So much has changed, yet in some ways, everything is still the same. After months of indecision, I finally made the choice to file for divorce. It wasn't an easy decision, but I realized I couldn't live in a marriage without trust. The constant doubt, the nagging suspicion, it was eating me alive. I knew I deserved better, and more importantly, our children deserved better. Daniel didn't take it well at first. He alternated between begging me to reconsider and lashing out in anger. It was painful to watch the man I loved for so long crumble before my eyes, but I had to stay strong for my own sanity. Telling the children was the hardest part. Emma cried for days, while Liam, too young to fully understand, kept asking when Daddy was coming home. It broke my heart to see them hurting, but I knew that staying in a broken marriage would hurt them more in the long run. The divorce proceedings have been messy. Daniel initially tried to fight for full custody, claiming my emotional instability made me an unfit mother. It was a low blow, and thankfully, the judge saw through it. We've settled on joint custody, with the kids primarily living with me. I've had to make a lot of changes. I sold our house, there were too many memories there, both good and bad. The kids and I have moved into a smaller apartment closer to my bakery. It's an adjustment, but it feels like a fresh start. Financially, it's been tough. I've had to take on more hours at the bakery to make ends meet. But there's a silver lining, throwing myself into work has been therapeutic. I've expanded the business, adding a small cafe section that's become quite popular. Daniel has been seeing Jake, his secret son, regularly now. It's strange to see him build a relationship with a child I didn't know existed for so long. Emma and Liam have met their half-brother a few times. It's been confusing for them, but they're slowly adapting. As for Sarah, I heard through the grapevine that she and Daniel broke up shortly after our separation. Apparently, the reality of being with a man going through a divorce and juggling 3 children was not as appealing as the fantasy of their affair. I won't lie, there are still days when the pain feels fresh, when I look at old photos and wonder what could have been. But those days are becoming fewer and farther between. I'm learning to rediscover myself outside of being Daniel's wife. I've taken up painting, something I loved in high school but gave up when life got busy. It's become my outlet, a way to process my emotions when words fail me. The kids are slowly adjusting to our new normal. We have our routines now, movie nights on Fridays, pancake breakfasts on Sundays. They still miss their dad, of course, but they're resilient. Seeing them laugh and play again has been the best medicine for my broken heart. I'm not ready to think about dating yet. The thought of trusting someone again is terrifying. But for the first time in months, I'm starting to feel hopeful about the future. I'm rediscovering my strength, my independence, and my worth. This journey has been the hardest thing I've ever been through, but I'm coming out the other side stronger. I'm not the same Grace who found those letters 6 months ago. I'm battle-scarred but unbroken, ready to write the next chapter of my life, on my own terms. Update 4. It's been a year since I found out about Daniel's affair, and what a year it's been. Looking back, I can hardly believe how far I've come. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. Signing those papers was both heartbreaking and liberating. It felt like closing a chapter of my life, one filled with both beautiful memories and painful betrayals. Co-parenting with Daniel has been a challenge, but we're finding our rhythm. We've both agreed to put our differences aside for the sake of Emma and Liam. It's not always easy, especially when I see him and am reminded of everything we've lost, but I'm learning to separate my feelings as his ex-wife from my role as a co-parent. The kids are doing better than I could have hoped. Emma has joined a soccer team and is thriving. Liam started kindergarten this fall and loves it. They still have moments of sadness about the divorce, but overall, they're adjusting well. Seeing them happy and thriving gives me strength on the tough days. My bakery has become my sanctuary. I've thrown myself into growing the business, and it's paying off. We've gained a loyal following in town, and I'm even considering opening a second location. The work keeps me busy and gives me a sense of purpose beyond being a mom. I've also started volunteering at a local women's shelter, helping other women who are going through difficult times. It's been healing to share my story and to realize that I'm not alone in my struggles. Daniel and I ran into each other at a school event last week. It was awkward at first, but we managed to have a civil conversation. He looks older somehow, worn down by the consequences of his actions. Part of me felt a twinge of satisfaction at that, but mostly, I just felt sad for what we've both lost. As for me, I'm slowly learning to trust again, not in a romantic sense, but in life in general. I'm building new friendships, reconnecting with old ones that I had neglected during my marriage. I've even started going to a book club, something I would never have had time for before. The betrayal changed me forever, but not entirely in bad ways. I've discovered a strength in myself that I never knew I had. I've learned to stand on my own 2 feet, to make decisions for myself and my children without second-guessing every move. I've also learned valuable lessons about trust and the importance of communication in relationships. Looking back, I can see now that Daniel and I had stopped truly talking to each other long before the affair. We were so caught up in the day-to-day of raising kids and managing careers that we forgot to nurture our relationship. It doesn't excuse what Daniel did, but it's a lesson I'll carry forward. While I haven't fully recovered from the pain of the affair, and honestly, I'm not sure I ever will completely, I found a kind of peace. I no longer spend sleepless nights wondering what I could have done differently or blaming myself for Daniel's choices. I've accepted that his actions were his responsibility, not mine. The future still feels uncertain at times, but it no longer terrifies me the way it did a year ago. I'm learning to embrace the unknown, to see it as an opportunity rather than a threat. For the first time in a long time, I'm excited about what might come next. I'm not ready to think about dating yet, and I'm okay with that. I'm focusing on myself, on being the best mother I can be, and on building a life that makes me happy. If love comes along again someday, great. If not, I know now that I'm strong enough to be happy on my own. This journey has taught me that life rarely goes according to plan, but that doesn't mean it can't be beautiful in its own way. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I'm stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The pain of betrayal will always be a part of my story, but it doesn't define me. As I look towards the future, I'm filled with a cautious optimism. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I know that whatever comes, I'll face it head on. Because if there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that I'm capable of weathering any storm. To anyone out there going through something similar, know that it does get better. The pain doesn't disappear overnight, but day by day, it becomes more manageable. You're stronger than you know, and there is life after betrayal. It might not be the life you planned, but it can still be a good one. As for me, I'm taking it one day at a time, cherishing the good moments with my kids, throwing myself into my work, and slowly but surely building a new life for myself. It's not the happily ever after I once dreamed of, but it's real, it's mine, and in its own way, it's beautiful.